Q&A session with Digital Boost. We have them Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. To 11 a.m. or possibly a little bit shorter. Now, these sessions are a great opportunity for you to get your questions answered by the experts. So do ask your questions using the Q&A function, the chat function, or the comment section, depending on what platform you're streaming on. We know that some of you like to watch on the go. So let us know that you're there by dropping your questions in the on the platform. Now, today we're going to be talking about preparing construction monthly progress claims and retention with Avesh and Jimmy from Payapps. So we'll be talking about the platform and possibly answering some of the frequently asked questions that they get from their customers. So this is a good opportunity to enlighten us in this sector, I guess, in this industry, which we don't cover particularly often. So I am really looking forward to getting some good insight. Now, a little bit of an announcement. Just remember, competitions are running. Currently, there is one competition running with some gift baskets, I believe. So you can enter that by logging on to digitalboost.co.nz, and you should be able to see the competition entry right there on the main dashboard. As a reminder, these sessions are all live. However, you can check out the sessions that we have run to date from the beginning of January, January 18th of 2021, by going onto the main dashboard, scroll down, you'll find the In Case You Missed It section and click on View More, and it'll show you the archives of all the sessions we have run with so many providers and suppliers. Lots of good insight there. So thanks, Avesh. Thank you, Jimmy, for joining us here today on Digital Boost.
Thanks, Anna Marie.
It's my pleasure.
Pleasure.
Now, I want to make sure, did you say that I spelled the name wrong? Is the name wrong? No, that's your name, isn't it?
Is it coming up as Avesh? I've got Nisha.
Oh, you've got Nisha. How did you become Nisha? We can fix that. That's easy. That's an easy fix.
Nisha was the consultant that was going to join us, and Jimmy unfortunately, or Nisha unfortunately couldn't make it. So Jimmy's stepped in at those final minutes.
When Jimmy's got a double I, how about that? Jimmy, what did I do to you?
That's all right.
Double-I'd you, 1M. It's a new spelling. You know, maybe it's a cool new trend.
That's the new way. Yeah. More of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to make sure that everything's running in the background. I'm going to get all the live chat set up. I'm going to let you guys drive, but I'm here for support. Would you like to take questions at the end or at the beginning, or like throughout? I guess not at the beginning.
We'll probably take questions right at the end, and then we can cover them all off and include some of our frequently asked questions in that session as well.
Yeah, fantastic. That'd be great.
Perfect. I will share my screen to get started. So thank you again. Thank you to Digital Boost for the opportunity to run this session. Background as an intro, my name is Avesh Maharaj. I'm the Senior Business Development Manager here at Payapps. We're a software company specifically managing the construction sector or construction sector software. So we thought we'd have a session today to cover off some of the key components around the construction progress payment claims and the calculation of retention as well. My colleague Jimmy will join me towards the middle of the session, where we'll cover off actually creating a progress claim. So I'll go through a bit of the background to the claim, things like the key elements, etc., and then we'll have Jimmy jump in and show you how a claim is created as well. In terms of the agenda for the session, we'll cover off a bit of an overview of the progress claim, the payment claim. We'll cover off some of the key elements to consider when creating a claim. I'll cover off a sample payment claim as well. We'll look at retention. Retention is quite a big area. We'll look at some of the more common retention questions that come about in retention calculations. And then we'll go through the exercise of creating a progress claim as well. Before we get started, a bit of a disclaimer on the session. The session that we'll cover off is aimed at being a general session. So some of the nuances that may occur, some of the different contracts that you will have with your head contractors, with your asset owners, may have different nuances. But again, this is intended for an initial training session with just general content. So if you do need further information, please contact your appropriate professional advisor for more information. From the outset, the session, as again we're talking to Digital Boost, the session, we want to make this as much of a learning session as possible. So some of the key objectives that we're looking at to get out of this is to ensure that you understand the purpose of a progress claim, a good understanding of the key elements that must be included in a claim as well. We'll cover off a good understanding of retention and some methods on how that is calculated. And we'll look at some software tools that'll help you in that process to creating the claims and managing your retention as well. Before we get started, a little background on the company. So we'll talk about Jimmy and myself, a little background of the company. Payapps is a progress claim management software. We are currently used by over 8,000 subcontractors across Australia and New Zealand, processing over $8 billion worth of claims annually. We've been awarded the Deloitte Fastest 500 and as of last week, the Australian Financial Review Fastest 100 in 2021. A big part of that drive in growth over the last few years has been initiatives like the New Zealand Construction Accord, which we are a network partner of, and also one of the tools that is recommended on their website for managing progress claims as well. So if you haven't had a look at it, have a look at the New Zealand construction sector, and there's a section on best practice tools in there as well. So let's kick it off in terms of what a progress claim is. So it's ultimately centered around managing cash flow for a business. So managing that cash flow and ensuring that you're paid on a regular basis and on a timely basis through the course of a project. One of the things that you'll find is you'll do projects that may be, a week, a month, 6 months, maybe 24 months over multiple years. So it's a mechanism in place to ensure that we're getting regular payments coming through and ensuring that they're being done in a timely basis as well. There are two different parties within the claim. The parties are either a payee or a payer. So when I refer to payee through the session, I'm referring to the person making the claim. So either the subcontractor paying upwards to the head contractor, or the head contractor paying up to the asset owner. So it could be a state government organization, it could be a business, but it's ultimately managing those two sides. And then the payer being either the head contractor paying the subcontractor or the asset owner paying the head contractor. And we'll cover that off as well. So that's the claim itself. Consistent issues that we see across the claim process. And again, we had a session a week ago or 2 weeks ago with the New Zealand Institute of Quantity Surveyors. Some of the biggest challenges, and probably the first two are the key ones, is there's no set format for a progress claim. So there isn't a standard, as in accounting, we've got standard, P&Ls and balance sheets and things like that. There isn't a set format stipulated for a progress claim. Probably the biggest challenge that has been identified is missing key elements, key data. So most head contractors that we talk to state that it's around 90% of the claims that they have come through that aren't compliant. And the issue with non-compliant claims is, one, there is the risk that they may not be paid against, or there may be delays in the payment as well. So again, those are some of the key issues that come out with that missing data components. And the final one is probably not having tools that cater for the construction sector. So there are a number of different solutions out in the market, but you'll notice that a lot of organizations are moving to best of breed solutions. So it's specifically construction software in order to manage construction projects. And the key things that they miss out on is functions to actually create a progress claim, manage variations. So for the guys listening, variations may come up a couple of times in this session. These are changes to the original contract. So when you make changes to the original contract, we're looking at things like adding supporting information about why those changes have come about as well. And finally, tools to ensure that we're calculating retention as well. So I'll put that all under the umbrella of ultimately not using the correct tool for the task. Broadly, the progress payments claims are managed under the Construction Contract Act. So this is an act passed in 2002, and I'll refer to it as the CCA as we go through this session. Broadly, it covers off any work that's classified as construction work. I've got a detail of what those different tasks are and different and what they're worked on. I'm not going to cover that in any detail, but anyone that's listening to the recording later can have a look and look at the details on that as well. And one change to that was the inclusion of design, engineering, and quantity surveying work included in that act as well. The key benefits of claiming under the act is once you create a payment schedule or create a progress payment claim, it is treated as a debt due. So very, very, very important to have that. So once you've done the work, you create the claim, it is a debt due to yourselves. In addition, there are additional benefits when you claim under the CCA, but you can have a chat to your advisor about those that will be specifically for you as well. The payment claim, and we'll talk about missing key pieces of information that make it a non-compliant claim. The key pieces of information, and I'll cover this, is required in every claim that you make. Firstly, the payment claim must be in writing. It must contain sufficient information to identify the contract to which it relates to. So you might be doing a lot of work for a head contractor or multiple head contractors. So we need to identify those head contractors. And again, you might be working from a head contractor on multiple projects. Those need to be identified. And again, you might have more than one contract on one project. Again, putting in a contract reference as well, just to clearly identify what that claim is for. Identifying point C, identifying the work and the relevant period for the claim as well. So having the details of the claim period, the claim dates, and a key piece, and I'll come back to this payment due date as well a little later, that's in the line below, must be included as part of the claim. The claim amount must be included. So again, indicating clearly what the amount that you're claiming for is, has to be included. And then a line-by-line breakdown of what items that you're claiming against. So again, in the sample document that I've got here, I've got a line-by-line breakdown of the different items within the claim, and to the right-hand side, what percentage or dollar amount I'm claiming for in this claim period. Item F must clearly indicate on the claim that the claim is made under the Construction Contracts Act. And finally, the relevant supporting information, in this case, the Form 1, and I'll cover that off in a second, must be included in the claim as well. As I said, we had a session a couple of weeks ago where we spoke to a law firm, and the NZ, New Zealand Institute of Quantity Surveyors, and they indicated that probably 3 items to keep an eye on when creating a progress claim that are being included. Item D, and this is the most common errors that they find. Item D, a due date is not there for payments. Item F, that it's not stated that the claim is under the CCA. And finally, item G, the Form 1 is not included as well. So I just wanted to indicate that, ensure that we're having those in a claim. Form 1 is a 2-page document. You can get that at the building.gov.nz website. And again, this must be attached to the claim as well. So again, there's copies, sample copies of that you can download from the website as well. That's a bit of an overview of the progress claim. So covering the different elements, and I'll let Jimmy in a second jump in and have a look at the software and show you how we go about the exercise of creating a claim. In terms of the second part of the session, retention. So firstly, what is retention? Retention is part of the payment that is due, that is withheld by the payer. So it's withheld by the payer as security for various different reasons, but ultimately it may be for fixing defects. So any liability that may occur after the work has been completed. And again, there are specific rules around where that money is stored. There's a recent change in the Act to talk about where that money is stored. Again, not going to cover that. We're focusing on the calculation side today. Probably the most common retention types used is tiered retention and bank guarantee. And tiered retention, we'll cover off a couple of examples. In this example that I've got here, I've got a tiered retention that's withheld. I've created 3 tiers, and each of the tiers, so any items under 200,000, a retention amount of 10% is withheld. Once we cross over to the tier 2, between 200 and $1 million, 5% of the retention is held, and anything over $1 million, in my example, 1.75 of the retention is held. And I would state that in this example, in your example, it will be stipulated in the contract what the retention amounts will be. But using this example, say for instance, the claim is 50,000. 50,000 still falls within the first tier, so 10% of that monies will be withheld. So on a $50,000 progress claim, $5,000 is withheld within retention. If, for example, that claim amount is 300,000, so the first 200 is withheld at 10%, equating to 20,000. And then the next tier, next 100,000 is withheld at the 5% mark, and a total of 25,000 is withheld. And in my final example, if I had a $2 million claim, the first 200 is withheld at 10%, the next 800 is withheld at 5%, and all remaining monies are withheld at 1.75. And again, in this example, 77,500 is withheld. So fairly straightforward, but just getting this set up initially is probably the key to that. So I'll hand you over to Jimmy, who will go through an example of creating a progress claim. What we'll focus on is ensuring that we are including all the key elements of a compliant claim. So things like the Form 1, ensuring that there's a due date, etc. One of the biggest areas is around ensuring that there are no reconciliation errors. So from your previous claim, there's no errors being carried forward. We'll look at ensuring that all the supporting information is included. So supporting information could be things like photos, etc., for work that's been completed. For variations, any supporting information required there, and any claim supporting documentation, such as the Form 1, is included. And finally, he'll look at retention as well. So ensuring that that's been calculated correctly. So I'll stop sharing at this point and hand you over to Jimmy.
Thanks, Avesh.
Go.
Okay. So this is the Payapps login. So I just want to talk this a little bit. At this stage, we have set up our project and our contract within Payapps. I'm also integrated with Xero. So the great thing with our solution is it integrates in with a number of finance systems, and we can transfer the data across at a couple of stages, either at the submission of the claim or the approval of the claim. And great thing with Payapps is, as a subcontractor, you're in control of all these structures. Okay. If a head contractor is already using Payapps, or a client, for example, they would set this side of things up for you, and the majority of the time you'll be in control. From here, you can see we've got our high-level financial information on the top tab there, and then down below we've got a little bit more information with regards to our contract. You can see the progress of work which has been carried out and how many claims have been submitted previously. Click on the, actually just before I click onto the contract, you also notice that we do have a star next to our contract here, and that's just to indicate that it's a self-managed contract and that we're in control of the way the breakdown has been set up. Click onto the contract, and then it takes me through to, firstly, my contract homepage. So on the left-hand side, I've got my current contract position. My right-hand side, I've got my respondents details, who we've decided that we're going to send our claims to. And then down below, I've got all my previously assessed and approved claims. You'll also notice with our Xero contact, we can actually link that back to the person that we're dealing with across in the Xero as well. Down here, you can see we've got claim. We've also got compliance. So Payapps can control the compliance documents, and we will help you with that side of things in regards to setup. You can actually dictate which documents you want to have in place with regards to submission. So here I've got a public liability document which I want to upload. I just click on upload, find my insurance, and then we can say, right, I've got my public liability. I know I require an expiry date with regards to that, so I'm going to put that in for the end of the month. Upload that document, and that will sit there against my public liability document. So really nice and simple for us to manage those compliance documents, which are often quite a bane in people's lives. From there, we'll just click on New Claim. And that should take us through to our contract breakdown. Now, first and foremost, in the top left-hand corner, I've got my brought forward values from claim number 3. We're sitting on claim number 4 here. So the great thing with Payapps is it helps you reconcile the claims which come, the claim which you submit to your client, but also for your, it'll bring through the payment schedule details from claim number 3. So you don't have to reconcile in, say, an Excel document. Down below, again, we've got claim, compliance, and retention. I'll touch upon these two tabs in a few moments' time. And then down below, we've got our line-by-line breakdown, which again, we've been in control of. Working from left to right, we've got a reference, a description of our item of work, a when complete value and what's previously been approved, and then a progressive work bar again, so a second visual indicator, so we can see against each individual line what we want to put in there. 3 boxes to the right-hand side is where we'll enter our values. So here, I'm going to say I've reached 50% of my work on this line. And it'll automatically pull forward my dollar values in the claim date section or current claim. I can equally just click into my dollar values. So in this case, I want to say I've done $7,000 worth of work. It'll recalculate my percentage of my current claim values. And finally in here, if I want to click into my current claim value, I can just click in there, and it'll pull that data through as well. So it automatically updates. Really nice and simple for us to be able to manage the claim which we're submitting this month. At the end of each line item, we'll also notice we've got a little speech bubble there, and that allows us to add supporting information should we want to. Where that's really helpful for is on variations. So I scroll right down the very bottom, I want to add a variation in here. Okay. Now with variations, we can either submit them as part of the progress claim, or a lot of the time what we'll find is our customers will have conversations with their clients before submitting their claim to them. So from here, we'll add in a variation. I'm going to say all demolition I've got a variation reference, variation 1, and I'm going to say I'm submitting that for $2,000. Okay. If I've had a conversation with my contractor beforehand, they may have already approved it. They may have already rejected it. It means we can track those variations. So if we have had a rejected vary, we can put it rejected. In this instance, I'm going to leave it awaiting approval because I'm submitting as part of the claim. Also got the ability to exclude from retention. We may know that it doesn't require retention on this variation, again, depending on the conversation that we've had with our builder previously. Hit add, and that creates my line item for us to be able to claim against and submit through to my builder. From here, again, we do have to state how much of this variation we want to claim. So in this case, I'm going to say 75% of my variation. And I've also got some documentation which I want to add as well. So I can click on that supporting information box. From there, just grab the picture. I've got more demolition document, hit save, and that will then sit against my claim and go across to my builder so they can see that. Okay, really nice and simple process to go through the claim process. From there, we've also noticed we've got compliance. So we've got red number 1 next to the compliance to indicate that I need to provide some supporting information. Click into compliance, and there we go. We can see we've got a form 1 which is required at this stage. So again, prompts us to make sure we're submitting those documents as well. Down there, find the document we want. Again, I've got my insurances, and then I've got my form 1 document. Upload that, and that will sit against my claim going through to my builder too. Final section is the retention. Effectively for us, it's set and forget. So we set it up at the start of the contract, and then Payapps will do the calculations for us. So there's no need to manage those pesky retentions. You'll see we've got our withheld amount, which automatically calculates, and we've also got our contract settings down below, so we can see how those retentions have been structured. So again, nice and simple for us to be able to manage. Payapps manages retention in 4 ways, although as Avesh said, across in New Zealand, it tends to just mainly be 2. First one, tiered retention structures we've got set up here, bank guarantee. We also have a max value retention, and we can also just do a flat percentage-based retention as well, which tends to be more applicable for the Australian market. From there, we then click on the submit button. And this is where it prompts us for our payment due date. So making sure we're providing the correct payment due date for our contractor. We can also expand this view, which gives us a calculation of how those values were arrived at. This is really helpful if we do ever get audited. We know we've got the calculations sitting there. From there, I'll just set my payment due date as the end of January, and then I'll hit confirm and submit. That will then create a document for us to send across to our builder. So then if I click into assess, we've got the ability to click into our claim document, and this will open up here. From there, as Avesh showed a little bit earlier on, in the top left-hand corner, we've got the Construction Contract Act detail. Again, the relevant financial information, claimants details, respondents details, project information, and claim information. Then got my breakdown as well. So again, really handy if we do ever need to calculate these values. Then our line-by-line breakdown, nice and easy for my head contractor or our client to be able to see how much is being claimed and whereabouts that values have been arrived at. And then down below, we've got our variations, sitting as unapproved, and then any additional attachments which have been added along the way. So my client can then just click on my wall demolition document, and I'll pull them through to that document there now. From there, we'll receive our progress, our payment schedule back from our head contractor. So from here, we can now just go in and do our assessment. If the builder has confirmed what you've submitted, then great. We can just hit that approve button, and at that point in time, we'll send that through to the finance system, which in this case will be Xero, or any other finance system that you need it to go into. If not, which tends to be the case, there tends to be a few changes made along the way, we would just get our payment schedule back and then come into Payapps and adjust. So in this case, my builder's knocked me back down to 90% with regards to the column decreasement, should I say. And then again, it'll just prompt us to provide a modification reason to make sure we know why those changes are being made. I'll just zoom a little bit further. And we'll just say other and hit done. Need to provide a reason. So on-site review with Avesh and lock down. Hit done, and then that provides the modification reason as to why those values have been changed. With regards to variations, I've now had that conversation with my builder. They've turned around and said, yeah, we're actually quite happy with regards to the approval of the variation, so we're going to approve that this month. But we are going to say the value stays at that 1,500. It's not going to be any more than that for this variation. So in that instance, we can come in here, change that variation to approved, and then adjust that to 1,500. Update this, and then again, it'll ask me for a modification reason, and we can click other, and we'll say different. Okay, so it should be fairly straightforward with regards to managing that claim process. As I said, with regards to the retention, that's calculated automatically based on the new values. So again, this isn't something which you need to worry about. Payapps will automatically recalculate. Then we hit the approve button. And at that point in time, confirm and approve, and that will send the claim through to Xero, and we'll see something which looks like that. If I click back into my claim, we've got all the documentation which is raised within the system. So the claim document, as we mentioned earlier on, the Xero invoice. So if I click on my Xero invoice, that will take me through to Xero. We can see exactly where those values are arrived at. And also set up within the default settings where those values sit within your ledgers, within your finance systems too. And that's the case with regards to Xero, MyOp, and QuickBooks. And then finally, we've got our payment schedule. So if you do need to have any of those documents kept within your own personal systems, then you can see we've got all the relevant documents stored within that system for you as well. That's kind of the show from my side of things. I'll stop sharing at that point in time and then pass back over to Avesh to follow on.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jimmy.
No problems at all.
I appreciate that. So I hope that gives everyone a bit of an overview of tools that are available and covered off the key elements to include. I guess key takeaways from the session today, as we identified, and again, through the session with the NZIQS and Hess Kendley, the law firm, key areas that they find that claims miss is including the Form 1, including the payment due date, and ensuring that there is wording around the claim is made under the CCA. Ensure that utilizing softwares will reduce that risk. And again, that's another session. That's another piece that came out of that session, was you have these mechanisms in place, like your compliance documents, etc., to ensure that we're including all the right documentation for the claim. Key focus is also around integration. So you saw that with Jimmy's presentation, that we covered off integration back into Xero. So there are some quite powerful mechanisms that we have in place, so you don't have to double handle work and run the risk of errors occurring when you're re-entering into your finance system. Funnily enough, an accounting firm down in Wellington said that they're now receiving faster payments. And again, looking at features like being able to associate line-by-line attachments. So for the variation that's been added, we can see the supporting documentation. It's all in a central location, and for them, that's just improved the speed of getting paid as well. And ultimately, from a general processing standpoint, again, with a tool like your Payapps solution, the biggest feature is around reducing that processing time. So the average processing time was around 2 hours in the Australian market, and now that's come down to between 5 and 10 minutes per claim as well. Thank you for the session. We've got an additional offer to the Digital Boost user base, which will be emailed out to the guys next week, I think it is, with some incentives in terms of certain offers as well. And I think we'll probably bring on Anna Murray to raise any questions that they've come up through the session, and then we've got some frequently asked questions as well.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks so much, Avesh and Jimmy. There's been a really informative session. I believe that the Payapps offer is probably already on the website. Maybe it hasn't been featured yet in the newsletter, and that may go out this week. It usually goes out on a Thursday. So if you're tuning in, newsletters usually go out on a Thursday and possibly a Monday as a follow-up email. And we usually feature 1 or 2 offers in those. But if you want to find the place where we keep all of the offers, go to the Digital Boost website and scroll down to the bottom of the page. And there's a section called Special Offers. Click on that link and it'll take you to a page that has all the offers, including the offer from Payapps there. Do take advantage, because folks like Payapps are really generous in what they offer our registrants. So if you're one of those folks that are streaming with us on one of our social media platforms and you haven't registered because you're cheeky and you just watch the sessions through there, I would encourage you to register, because you're missing out on some primo offers and also the competitions. Now, we do have a question here from Dean. First comment was, love variances, great to offer extra service to the client. And then the second was a question, would terms and conditions between parties still require the Form 1?
So just to clarify with that, so the terms and conditions you're talking about are the contract, so having specific contracts?
Well, wait, Dino,
the
keyboard warrioring right now.
The likelihood is yes.
Yeah, the response is yes. So again, as we said at the start of the session, these are general things that are included as part of the Construction Contracts Act. So if parties agree on different terms and conditions, that obviously will be something that's specific to the contract. So again, that forms outside of the general advice that we're covering off today anyway. So it will be contact your advisor to review that as well.
And I would say, just in terms of legality and things like that, if you need somebody to help you resource where to contact, who to contact, just contact our support team and we'll direct you on to some resources in that way. Because obviously that's not what we do either. But yeah, we are here to help you find those things. So do utilize our support team. They're fantastic. Thanks, Dean, for that great question. I'm going to jump over onto Facebook. Maybe you want to go ahead and share some of your frequently asked questions with us. So while I check the other platforms for questions as people are typing.
So I'll cover off some of these questions here that tend to come up quite often in sessions that we run. So the first one is Jimmy went through an integration with Xero. So it's fairly straightforward. They're an online solution. We're an online solution. So it's more just logging into one system or the other. But the question was always around what other platforms do we work with. So from a subcontractor standpoint, solutions like Xero, MyOb, Sage are the tools that we can. From a bigger head contractor, so you're like Fulton Hogan's and Hawkins, etc. We do JD Edwards, Cheops, JobPack. But ultimately what we have is an open API, so an open way of just sharing data between systems as well. So those are just some that we have probably more strategic partnerships with, more plug and play, that we do have open APIs. Another common question that comes up is around, can I use it on my smartphone or my iPad? So a lot of the construction subcontractors are doing work on sites. So it is a cloud-based solution. So as long as you've got an internet connection, you'll be able to connect to the platform. And it also renders to your device. So if you're using a phone that's got a smaller screen, there's no apps or anything like that. I think we're sort of getting away from apps these days, where we can just render smaller images on a smaller device. From a Payapps standpoint, always asked about, well, how long does it take to set up? So Jimmy showed you the example on how to use the system. There's not much more to it, and I think most people just from that session will be able to utilize the software. But we usually say it's around 45 minutes to be trained up on the platform, and setting up the contract. But probably the first one you do might take you a bit longer, so probably about half an hour. But for most users, it's probably down to 10 minutes, and you can always upload spreadsheets and things like that into the system. A common one comes up, and again, the session was sort of targeted to the subcontractors, but again, speaking to the Digital Boost team, I understand there's quite a few head contractors on the session as well. Can it be used by head contractors? So predominantly, the head contractors, or in Australia, most of the head contractors subscribe to the software, and then there's the option of even the head contractor making claims upstream. So they're able to use the software upstream as well. So, and finally, is this an approved solution within the New Zealand market? So again, the tool has got all the compliance components that are required for a New Zealand progress claim. But we're also a member of the Digital Boost, the Construction Accord. And you can go on the Construction Accord, and we're one of the approved solutions to use as well, as part of their best practice. So I think the Construction Accord is really looking to promote, I think construction is around, I think it's the third largest industry in New Zealand, and it's really lagging with technology. So it's one of their big initiatives to get more of these solutions in place. So again, have a look at them, and they've approved us as one of the only solutions in the market to manage the progress claim. But it really comes down to making sure we've got all those compliance elements, which obviously software tools lend itself to. So, but those are the common questions that usually come up from subcontractors.
No, that's great, Avesh. And that's how we found out about you, when our external relationship manager, Diana Kirkland, attended the Construction Accord, and I believe she spoke there or what have you. And, we've been really lucky to have you guys contact us and then want to get involved in Digital Boost, because we know that this is such a valuable tool for small businesses and for people in this industry. So we wanted to make sure that there's some awareness that it does exist, and there are things out there that you can use to make your life a little bit simpler, and make sure that you're following all kinds of regulations. So thank you again, both gentlemen, for joining me here today on this platform and getting Digital Boost educated. We appreciate your time. And especially, I don't know where you're located, Jimmy, but I know, Avesh, you're tuning in from Oz, so this is earlier for you. So we appreciate you getting up a little bit earlier for us. Yeah.
No worries. Perfect. That's a help. And as I said, the user base that we have is, I think there's probably about 100 head contractors on the platform, but there's around 8,000 subcontractors. So it's really a tool for the grassroots businesses across New Zealand, to ensure that they're being treated as fairly as possible.
And that lack of technology is so it is across many sectors in New Zealand, Jeremy. That's why Digital Boost came about, is that so many small businesses, once COVID hit, they didn't have that storefront to be able to sell from or to work from. And it just has caused this real drive to educate small businesses in New Zealand to use digital tools and what's actually out there. And I think that, everybody's getting on board. It's been really exciting to see the changes that are happening and people getting excited about tech. It's not something that everybody wants to get excited about, but like myself, I used to think of tech as just taking me away from things. But now the more that I've become educated in the tech industry, I realize how it allows me to actually have more time to get back to the things that I actually really love. If that's not what, if you're not wanting to be bogged down with admin, you can streamline processes and make it a little bit easier for yourself. And it's just like a language, like anything else that you can learn over time. And we're here to help you, and folks like yourself are here to help as well. So thank you again so much for your time today. Looking forward to that offer going out in the newsletter. So have a look for it, or check it out on the provider offers page on the digitalboost.co.nz website. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ka kite, everyone. See you tomorrow.